Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to give you a little bit of insight as to what happens to a nation when it goes into a severe fuel crisis. And not only that, Lebanon right now is also going through what could be called hyperinflation, where their currency is becoming pretty much worthless. Now this fuel crisis is just a cherry on the top for them. It's really making their lives miserable, and this is what you have to understand. What happens in other countries when these things happen. That way you can prepare for it happening here. If it never happens, that's a great thing. But if it does, you have an insight as to what happens when things like a fuel crisis happens. When things like your currency becoming devalued at a rate where it's pretty much worthless to you happens. So here it says that Lebanon suffers 24-hour blackout, food poisoning, business closures amid fuel crisis. All of these things, ladies and gentlemen, just from a fuel crisis. Imagine if everyone in that nation had a generator with a few gallons of gasoline put away. Not even everyone, maybe half of the people. Just imagine. Lebanon suffered a total power outage over the weekend, leaving its population of 6 million without centrally generated electricity for 24 hours. If you rely on an infrastructure, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you have a backup for that infrastructure that you rely on. The crisis is creating a nightmare for the country's residents, but has been a long time in the making. We cannot buy a lot of things. We cannot buy cheese and ham. We have to buy them in small pieces because we're afraid that the electricity is going to shut off and it's going to go bad in our refrigerators. This is what somebody told the reporter here. Lebanon suffered a total power outage over the weekend, leaving its population of 6 million without centrally generated electricity for 24 hours. And what 24 hours can do, ladies and gentlemen, the state electricity company said in a statement that the shutdown of the country's 2 main power stations due to fuel shortages had directly affected the stability of the power network and led to its complete outage, with no possibility of resuming operations in the meantime. Power returned late Sunday after the central bank granted the Energy Ministry $100 million in credit to buy fuel and keep its plants operating. Ladies and gentlemen, when a state, no matter what state it is, depends on the government to give it what it needs, this is what happens. That these people can't even govern their own country. They have to go and run to a bank to ask them to save them. What does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? It means that these people have lost their sovereignty. And when I say these people, I don't mean to say that in a degrading way. I mean these people, that it could be anyone. It doesn't just have to be Lebanon. Officials have warned the outages was likely to last several days. The crisis is creating a nightmare for the country's residents, but it has been a long time in the making. Gas shortages might sound familiar. The UK and the rest of Europe are in the throes of a mounting fuel crisis, which has induced panic buying and erratic behavior among many who have never imagined facing such shortages. Ladies and gentlemen, go and get fueled up now. There are too many variables at play that could cause a gas shortage here in the US. Not only could it be a scarcity issue, meaning that it's just not available because something happens to our refineries, but it can also be an economic issue, meaning that it may go up in price so much overnight that you may not be able to afford what you need. Also, what if we have a blackout, such as in Lebanon? What if we have truckers go on strike and they don't deliver fuel? There are so many variables involved right now that if you're not fueling up, if you don't have a reserve that you can rely on and know that you can get to in the case of an outage of any kind, then ladies and gentlemen, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, how responsible are you really? Not only for yourself, but for your family's needs. But for Lebanon, the same problem has been a reality for months. It's just another battle in the long list of crises that have left the country with multiple daily power outages. A banking and economic crisis, food shortages, overwhelmed hospitals, and a spiraling currency relying on a volatile black market exchange rate. Now this, ladies and gentlemen, is what happens when a country starts to suffer from hyperinflation. Okay. Beirut A once thriving city often called the Paris of the Middle East. At any time of day, one can see shop fronts closed or operating in darkness, with those lucky enough to have access to fuel relying on backup generators to keep their lights on. Now you see, ladies and gentlemen, there are some preppers, even in Lebanon, and those that were prepared, they can keep their lights on. When the power is out, many shopkeepers will refuse to sell anything but water, as the volatile minute-by-minute changes in the value of the Lebanese lira means that the price of goods can shift from one period to the next. It is catastrophic, says Rabbi Dao, a small grocery store owner in Beirut's Gateway District. He says that in late September his shop darkened during one of the country's many daily power outages. He pointed to empty refrigerator shelves where only one small refrigerator was running, holding a few dairy products. We cannot buy a lot of things. We cannot buy cheese and ham. We have to buy them by small pieces because we don't always have electricity, and the people are always afraid. A less talked about consequence of Lebanon's fuel and power crisis has been widespread cases of food poisoning, as grocery stores, restaurants, and households struggle to keep goods fresh amid electrical failure and the summer heat. Most of Beirut has no power at night since the start of summer. Meat and dairy consumption have dropped dramatically, residents say. They don't want to buy ham and cheese and yogurt because they are afraid that if they don't have electricity, the food will not be good, Dow said. Now imagine that, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine if they would have prepared with a small solar panel of maybe like 40 or 50 watts that could power one of those real small little refrigerators that don't use a compressor. I reviewed it here a few months back. That would be enough for them to be able to put some milk and cheese and maybe some meat products in it and keep it cool. All right, keep it cool for only about 35 watts per hour, which they could probably get mainly from the sun with a small solar panel. This is why I like to read these articles, because we can read them and learn from them and learn what could we do. If I don't have a big generator, but I can afford a 50-watt solar panel and a small $30 refrigerator, which I'll go ahead and leave a picture of it right here in the right-hand corner of this video, and it is in my Amazon storefront if you want to go check it out. I think they're only like 35, 40 bucks. But that, ladies and gentlemen, a solar panel and that little refrigerator can keep your meats or can keep your cheese or some dairy cool. More importantly, if you have medication that needs to be cool, it can keep your medication cool. That's what we learn from reading these articles, ladies and gentlemen, from reading what's going on in other countries. Let's go ahead and take what's happening elsewhere and learn from it. That way, if it happens here, we can benefit from the knowledge that we've already gained. That is why I feel that these types of videos are important, because knowledge, ladies and gentlemen, is important. Fuel issue here in the United States, in my opinion, is going to get worse. All right, it is going to get worse. It is going to get a lot more expensive than what it is. Fuel will still be available, but at what price, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, fuel is still going to be available, but at what price? Lebanon imports more than 80% of its foods and goods, including fuel. Does that sound familiar as far as fuel goes, ladies and gentlemen? In the last year, we've converted from being a country that is self-sustainable in the production of its own fuel to being one that is now reliable on countries that don't really like us. Let's go ahead and finish it off with a crashing currency, because I believe that we are headed that way. The official exchange rate of the Lebanese lira has been pegged at 1,500 lira to the dollar since the 1990s. The actual rate, however, by which cash is exchanged on the black market veered between 13,000 and 18,000 lira to the dollar in September. It is currently trading at about 19,250 lira to the dollar. Ladies and gentlemen, that is like more than 1,000, about 1,200, 1,300% increase in inflation. And they say here, you can buy an unsubsidized diesel, but you have to pay for it in dollars. He said it's like $600 a ton. The cost went up a lot. And there are so many new costs that just popped up for electricity, which has made it so much harder. This is the first time Lebanon's government has priced a commodity in dollars. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that this is a wake-up call to some who think that they don't need to be prepared. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going into a time and place where if you are not prepared, you will suffer in the future. I'm not fear-mongering by saying that. I'm telling you the truth. Do you think that these people in Lebanon, the average person there that was ignorant of what was going on, do you think that they're suffering now? Do you think that they thought that this could never happen because they had a normalized view of their world? You have a normalized view of your world now if you're not awake to the fact that that could happen here in these United States or in the country in which you live. All you have to do is look around. All you have to do is do a little bit of research. Study your history. Study the world's history. Study what real money is. And for goodness sakes, ladies and gentlemen, get prepared. Having said that, I hope you have a great day today. Remember that today at 1 p.m. Alaska time, so here in a few hours, we will be having our Wednesday live stream. So at 1 p.m. Alaska time, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Hope to see you there. And I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. I'm Alaska Prepper, and I'm out. God bless.